No Funny Business.
Yes.
I saw you put some nice Texas references in there. You know,
I,
what?
yeah. Whataburger. Yep. Oh, that sounds so good.
Oh, we have one literally a mile from my house.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
It's
Yes.
kind
Well,
of
my,
McDonald's, only better.
oh, it's way better.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
their fries are better than McDonald's, which is that's a compliment in itself.
Hmm. Yeah. I do like McDonald's fries, but yeah,
Yeah.
I love Whataburger fries.
Well, hey Amazon, welcome back. Today I have and YouTube, welcome back. I have Amanda Axel today. She is the author of two of my favorite rom-coms that you are going to love, Delia Suits Up, and her newest one, No Funny Business. So, welcome Amanda. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Welcome to the show, and yeah, let's talk books.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. This is actually my second
Absolutely.
time on your
Yep.
show. I was on last year when Delia Suits Up came out, so happy to be back. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And
Amanda's an OG.
yeah, OG, yes. Yeah, so I'm Amanda Axel, and I'm a women's fiction and rom-com author. As she mentioned, my books Delia Suits Up and No Funny Business are my most recent releases. I live in coastal Virginia with my husband, where I work as a writer. So that's kind of the gist. I'm a beach girl, and I don't know. I'm just trying to enjoy life.
That sounds dreamy. Just that writer life. Just a writer life, right? Just that. I mean, what does a day in the life look like for you as a writer?
A lot of crying at the computer.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. Well, not really. No, I mean I think being a writer it can be really intense, like when you're trying because you're writing for you, you're writing for your audience, you're writing for your publisher, maybe, you know what I mean? There's like all these like voices going on in your head. You want to tell a great story, you're trying to extract it, so yeah, I mean, you're a writer too. But it's really rewarding when you finish your book and you're like, oh, and especially like, when someone reads it and says, I loved it, or it made me laugh, or it felt I want to read it again, like it's so great.
it's hard to be funny too. And you wrote your newest one was really funny. It's about a stand-up comedian. So, how
Yeah.
did that go? Was this your hardest book to write, or was it your funnest? How did you feel about this one?
That is so funny. It was the hardest book I have ever written in my life. And that was for a lot of reasons. And it was funny when it wasn't originally my idea to write a stand-up comedian. And it just kind of came up, through the editing process. And then I was like, okay, I guess this is what I'm doing. But I thought, like, I know Delia Suits Up is, it's a comedy, but it's inherently funny, the storyline. And now I have to like really try to be funny. I was like, I don't know if I can do that. So it was such a challenge to really tap into that humor and write those jokes, and to write a stand-up set
Yeah.
was so intimidating, but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I definitely had to reach deep down in my life and bring something out of it to make this book happen for sure.
Wow. Well, where did your love of reading and writing begin?
So when I was a kid, I went through a lot of things when I was a kid, and I think I used writing as a way to process a lot of that stuff, and just kind of, I'm still an emotional person, just be able to express that emotion. But I never thought about it as a career. I just thought writing was fun and it was kind of easy. And maybe one day I would write a book, but I really wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be like this famous movie star. That was like my dream as a kid. And so when I got older, I went to acting school, and I just realized like the acting life wasn't for me, And but I started doing screenwriting classes, and that's when I was really encouraged to continue writing. And so I was like, oh, I can still be in the film industry, but as a writer, where I feel, much more confident about my ability to be successful. And it kind of just evolved, and I ended up writing my first book based on my screenplay. And when I was in the middle of writing the novel, I said, oh my God, all the movie ideas I want to write, they can all be novels. And that's just kind of when I fell in love with, being a novelist. And I must have been 24, 25 years old, something like that. I think 25 at that age. So really, it did not happen on purpose. And then as far as reading, I mean, who doesn't love like a great story, I think I didn't read a ton like as a little kid, but I think when I turned to my teen years, like that's when I really started picking up more books and like really falling in love with this long, form story and things like that. So, yeah. But I just love story, all forms.
Yeah. What are you currently working on?
So right now I've been working on a book that I am calling a second chance revenge body romance.
Ooh,
Um,
I love it.
yeah, so it's
Count me
like
in. Yes.
there's a wedding, there's an ex-boyfriend reunion, there's she's actually a TV writer, the main character. So I don't want to say too much because I don't know when this book is going to be out and what's going to shift, but it's a book that I've had on my heart for many years, and I was finally able to really dial in and bring that out. So that was fun to really work on.
That is really cool. I'm excited to hear more about that.
Yeah.
Um, what are you currently reading right now?
So honestly, right now I'm in a little bit of a reading slump, like um
It's a
I've
great day. There's a lot of good things that just came out today, I saw.
I know. I think the book I'm really interested to read is I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. So her
Mhm.
new book, Carrie Soto is Carrie Soto is back, I think is what it's called,
I
or
think
Carrie is back, or something like that.
I
Um,
have it, and I haven't read it yet, but
yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I'm sorry, Taylor, that I,
Let me look it up really quick. Can't do it.
but I love her. So
Harry
that's
Soto back.
okay. Okay. So there we go. All right, good. So yeah, so that's the book I'm excited to read next when I'm able to get back into it.
Yep, and
Yeah.
that's the good part about reading is sometimes you just get in those slumps. And one of the things I felt reading No Funny Business was if you're looking for just like an emotional escape, just a good funny pick me up, I felt like this book hits it on the head. It is so good. So tell me a little bit about your research and how you because I know last time we talked you were going to comedy clubs and you were having fun, like you were writing this one or editing it at least
Yeah.
last time
Yeah.
we talked, and this one was just so anticipated. So tell me a little bit about how that process was for this one.
Yeah, I mean, I must have watched I don't know how many documentaries about stand-up or comedians,
Yeah.
just trying to get a sense of the world. And I have several friends who have done stand-up, and I reached out to other, younger stand-ups, and got to know them a little bit and their experience. And just like I knew with any fiction, right? Like even like if you take like something like Grey's Anatomy, hospital life really isn't like that. You know what I mean? It's like you do take certain creative allowances with your story, but I wanted to insert some of those like tidbits of reality so that, if a stand-up comedian was reading the book, they would say like, "Oh yeah, that's real. Like that happened to me, or that's a true thing, or that, whatever." So yeah, I really just kind of immersed myself, and I love stand-up comedy. I'm a huge fan of stand-up comedy, like for my whole life. And a lot of Olivia's story is somewhat loosely based on my own experience. So even some of her little memories are similar to mine. Um, so yeah, so that was, but it was great. It was awesome. And yeah, it's just been fun, like getting to know more and more comedians. And so when I was spending time in New York, my husband and I were able to go to the Comedy Cellar there. And if you go to New York and you love comedy, you have to go to the Cellar. Like they have two locations. They're like right down the block from each other. Just pick one. And we were able to see some of these amazing comedians that we love. So it was just really fun. So it was nice to kind of like live in that world.
Who are some of your top favorite comedians?
So I love Chris Rock. I know he's like, he's like this big famous, guy or whatever, but he's just been one of my favorites forever. I love Bill Hicks and Pablo Francisco. I love Ali Wong and Nikki Glazer. I love Bo Burnham. Everything that he does is so just insightful and amazing. I love Patrice O'Neill. Who else? Gosh, I don't know. I mean, the list could just go on and on, like Joe List and Taylor Tomlinson's one I really like. She was one I kept a close eye on throughout the whole process because she's kind of in that age group with Olivia. Taylor Tomlinson. If you haven't watched her, she's very, very funny. She's got a couple specials on Netflix. Um, so yeah, what about you? Do you have any favorite stand-up comedians?
I don't know. Off the top of my head, no, but I love humor that's like tongue in cheek, where
Hmm.
you have to listen really closely to catch it and you kind of are like, wait, what did they just say? Like, that's
Yeah,
my favorite because that's how I talk in real life. Like, I'll
yeah,
say things like that, and people are like, what did she just say? That's my
yeah.
favorite thing, is just to like keep people on their toes. So,
Right. Yeah, yeah, where it's like a little more subtle.
like, they don't know what to think at the end. They're like, was she serious? That's my favorite thing. I went to my daughter's school recently and they were like looking for room moms. And I was like, oh, absolutely not. I don't even
Mm.
like children, only my own. And she looked at me like, is she serious? And I was like, I'm absolutely serious. She was like, I would be the worst room mom you ever had. I said, but if you need things donated, I'm your girl. Amazon to the rescue. But when he said Jim Gaffigan and Mitch Hedberg are two of mine. Aw. Um,
Oh, I love those are great. I love Mitch Hedberg.
yep. So
That's
yeah, I
awesome.
always like being like really honest, like but funny kind of. And people are like, is she serious? That's my favorite kind of humor. The
Yeah.
kind where I also have this curse where every time I watch a movie or listen to something, I remember it. I don't know how
Mhm.
that's even possible, but when I watch a funny movie, I can repeat it. So my husband and I often talk in movie quotes, and
Yeah.
um, anyway, so whenever I hear like funny stand-up comedian, I'll repeat it later, and like people are like, "What is she talking
I know
about?"
what you mean.
I'm
I
so
know what you mean. Yeah. We do that around here too. My husband and I, we have a few, that we'll pick out. He's better at it than I am. Like he's so good at like taking in all the information and somehow turning it into like a really funny punchline when you're least expecting it.
You know
So,
who else is really funny with punchlines and movie quotes is Sarah Confino Goodman. She's
oh
on
yeah.
Twitter, so she's really funny in real life. So sometimes I'll reply to some of her Instagram things with a movie quote, and she'll
Yeah.
pop back almost immediately with the responding quote to it, and I'm like, dang, she's good.
Wow.
And one time, funniest story, she said her dog had had an accident in the dining room, and she said, now my husband and I both watched this movie like decades ago, not together. And her husband, and she yells, don't put it out with your boots, Ted. And he said, daggum devil woman, don't tell me what to do. Do you know what movie that's from?
No.
Billy Madison.
Oh,
But she remembers movie quotes too. And so she's also really funny about repeating like movie quotes and stuff. So I love people that
that's funny.
repeat funny like stand-up comedian lines and
Yeah.
made into memes. And so I this was such a great book if you guys are into stand-up comedy and romance and just a funny pick-me-up if you're just needing a great escape. Also, Delia Sousa, one of my top favorites still to this day. She was on the show a year ago and we talked about it.
Oh,
And
thank you.
sending invitation back every time she has a new book out. So so
That's
much.
awesome.
What advice
Yes.
would you have for an aspiring author?
Mm. My advice for anybody who, well, first of all, yeah. So when we say aspiring writer, I just want to clarify because anyone who's writing, you're a writer. Published, not successful, not good at it, not you're a writer. A writer is a writer. So, but anybody who wants to like, you know, do it as a career or get a publishing deal or just publish on their own or, be in a magazine or whatever the case is, my biggest advice is just to be true to yourself and true to your own voice, and really learn about yourself and your own process enough to know what that is. Because there's so many other voices out there that are going to try to get in your head and tell you all these different things and kind of steer you away from your own truth, your own knowing. So I know this sounds like a little bit like,
No,
ooh, but I mean, really, and honestly, that's probably my advice for everything across the board, but especially as writers, because we're creatives and we tend to be sensitive, to our environment. We tend to be, emotionally expressive. And so, I think sometimes it can become a lot, as writers. So I think just to be able to remain completely true to ourselves and our own voice and be able to express that, because every single person who feels like they have something to say, they do have something to say. Like, it needs to be said, and it can only be said by them. Right. So, like, we all have this special message. And the more we dilute it down with other people's stuff, the less major impact it will have. So if we really want to like get that message out into the world, even if it's just the one person who reads it and they're like impacted by it, that's a win. So
absolutely.
that's my advice.
That's
Just
great.
really be true to yourself.
Wendy said, "No funny business is on my Goodreads TBR and followed you there, Amanda." Aw, awesome. Well,
Thank
everybody
you.
to follow Amanda here on Amazon as well. If you click the hyperlink of her name in the books section, you can find her and then hit the follow button so that when she puts out future books, you can grab it. And also, if you go there, you can see some of her backlist. So let's talk a little bit about some of your oldie
Yeah.
but goodies that you have, because Amanda's
Yes.
written so
Let's
many.
talk about them.
We talked about her two latest contemporary romance rom-coms, and then she also has some other really fun good ones too. So let's talk about some of those. Where do you want to start? You have so many good ones.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think we'll kind of go backwards. And this is one I love to talk about, My Two Husbands.
Okay.
And I think it's got such a great cover. Like,
Yeah.
not to toot my own horn, I did not design this cover, but I love this. This is a romantic comedy. I would really call it a romantic dramedy. Because just like No Funny Business, there's some real life in
Mhm.
there as well. But I put those things in there to ramp up the humor, because I feel like when we're able to go, down here with our emotions, we're able to go even higher up here, with our like higher emotions, the joy and the laughter and all that stuff. So, yeah, My Two Husbands, it's about this woman who is married, and her ex-husband lives in the room over the garage in her home. And her ex-husband and her current husband are also best friends. So it's told in a dual timeline. And so we get to find out, like, how did this situation even come to be? And of course, going through this story, things get a little bit stirred up. And what's really fun about this book is there is an element of you as the reader getting to be involved in how the story progresses, or I should say, really ends.
That's awesome. Okay, adding that to my TBR. Jake
And
and
it's a quick read too.
yeah. Okay, what else you got in your arsenal there?
Yeah, so I also have some romance. So anybody who likes steamy romance, I have several. I have a whole series here. This is Lingerie on the Floor. Um, this is the first in the series, and then I have Lose Your Shirt, and then also Bedside Manner. So just to kind of kick these off, yeah, this is a series about billionaire brothers from London and the American girls they fall for. So they're also very quick reads. That's one thing about, I will say this about my style of writing, is I like to cut to the chase. I don't write for like, I don't write all these extra scenes or extra words. Like, I keep it real simple. Like, we're going to get to the point. So if you like a quick read, like you need a half hour TV show, like you just want to boom, 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 I'm your girl, like
Yeah.
you're going to love my books, because I just like cut to it. So, but yeah, this series is a steamy romance series. So if you like a lot of steam and, you know, I mean, it's called Lingerie on the Floor. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
it's like, you know what you're going to get. So if
You
you're into that,
too here.
totally recommend. Yes. And these, I do romance a little bit differently. There's a lot of the, obviously similarities with, you know, with contemporary romance, but I like my guys a little more, So if you're looking for like a little edge on a romance series or something a little bit different, I think that would be really great for you too.
One of the questions we have is, Amanda, do you have trouble writing the spicy scenes or not?
Yes, I do actually.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for calling me out.
I mean, they're hard to write. I don't know. I struggle with them, but you do it
Yeah.
so well. You make it seem effortlessly on our end reading it. It's like, oh wow, you make that look easy. How's that?
Oh my gosh. Well, okay, so the ones in the newer books are a lot more mild. The Lingerie on the Floor, that series, it's a lot more intense and like
Yeah.
you blush. I'd be blushing the whole time because you want to be able to capture it and like invoke all of those feelings and not be embarrassed about it at the
Mhm.
same time. So it's so funny because my husband's boss's wife read the book and she's like, is this about your husband? Is this what it's like with your husband?
What? You're like, no, it's fiction. Fiction.
So I'm like, honey, you should read my book.
Gosh. What did your husband say? He's like, what?
He actually hasn't read any of my contemporary romances, and that's probably better. But
Uh,
no, he loves it. He loves that I'm a writer. He thinks it's so cool.
I asked Tessa Bailey that. I said, does your husband read your book? She goes, no. And I said, oh, why? She goes, because he just doesn't. He's not allowed. I was like, that's a good law. We'll keep that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
She said they're
No.
fun, they're just fiction, and yeah,
Yeah.
he's not interested. And I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah.
Oh, I make him read my newer books for sure. Like he's read my first couple and my last couple. It's the romances he hasn't gotten to yet. So,
He's like, I'm busy.
yeah.
It's okay. It's totally fine, honey.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what are you watching right now? I always like to ask our authors too. What are you watching on TV?
I'm rewatching Friends from College. This is on Netflix. The show only had 2 seasons. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's just so well done. Even my husband, we've probably seen it. I think this is like our 5th time watching the series through. And he's not the kind of guy who rewatches series. I am. I'm obsessive like that. But it's one we go back to again and again and again because it's just so well done. It's extremely funny, but also very smart and heartfelt. And it's like I like to actually watch it for storytelling purposes because every time I watch the show, I pick up on different things that the writers
I love
did that
that.
were so clever that I didn't pick up on the first time. So I love that show. And then I also started a show called Reboot on Hulu, which is a series about um, a sitcom that's being rebooted and the actors that are in it. And so Keegan Michael Key is the star in both of those. So I'm like on a kick with him a little bit. So really enjoying those. But they're both comedy. I would call them dramedies also.
Dramedies. I love that.
Yeah.
That's a great.
Primarily comedies, but yeah.
I
Yeah.
love the heavier elements in the rom-coms and the dramedies, as you call it. That's a great way to put it.
Oh,
I feel like it makes when you are going through really hard things a lot less lonely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you can bring some levity to them, and that's why I love Friends from College because what they do so well is whenever they have this really intense moment, they bring some humor in it in a really subtle way so that it doesn't quite allow the audience to go down too far. They bring you right back up, and it's just really cool. It's really cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
Where else can we find you and support you online?
Yeah, so you can find me on my website, amandaaxel.com, and then Instagram at Amanda Axel. Same thing with Facebook at Amanda Axel. And so those are the main places. And if you really like, if you're into any of my books and you want to know more, like definitely check out my website and sign up for my newsletter because I give free stuff out all the time. I do giveaways and all that kind of fun stuff, and you get a lot more insights on my newsletter as well.
I
So
love that.
definitely check that out.
Awesome. Well, be sure to follow Amanda here on Amazon as well, and be sure to grab No Funny Business, her newest book, and you are going to love it. Thank you so much for joining me today. This was so much fun.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was so nice spending time with you.
You too. Okay, well, stand by one moment. Amazon, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to grab this one, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.